Hi, good morning, everybody. Oh, it's good afternoon now, isn't it? There we go. Welcome to the session that we're now going to run. From a UK Active perspective, we're carrying on our theme from last year about female representation from the grassroots to the boardroom. And last year we spoke to Olympic gold medalist Joanna Rousel, co-founder of Stronger Studios, Elena Leptra, and CEO of Total Fitness, Sophie Lawler, about some of their experiences. And what we learned from that session, which is stuff that we knew anyway, but it's about having the right culture for women to succeed and creating a culture where everyone has the chance to thrive and being able to see a pathway and have role models to look up to. So this is about sort of a personal passion of mine, about having the opportunity to talk and listen to different women about how they've made it to achieve in their career. And that's why I'm absolutely delighted that Dina Asher-Smith is joining us today. An incredible young woman, 2019 world champion in the 200 metres, 4-time European champion, first British woman to run 100 metre sprint in less than 11 seconds and the 200 in less than 22 seconds. In 2018, she won 3 gold medals and set new British records in 100 and 200 at the European Championships. And in 2019, she became the only British athlete to ever win 3 medals at a single World Championships. But her success goes back a long way, because as a teenager, she won World Junior Championships, European Junior Championships, and was selected as the youngest ever athlete on the British senior team at the World Championships in 2013. Dina, welcome.
Hi, Malcolm. Hi, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that lovely intro as well. Sometimes I tend to forget that stuff, so thank you. You did really well to.
Thank you. I hope we got it right.
No, yeah, if you got it wrong, I wouldn't even.
Okay.
I
mean, that's a lot of stuff for someone who's still really young.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hopefully there's a few more things in there as you're going through it. I'd definitely love there to be a few more things that we can add by time I retire, but so far so good. Yeah.
So one of those things I'd imagine would be Olympic.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'd love to do that. I think everybody does though. Everybody who is in track and field, everybody who's in an Olympic sport wants to win the Olympics. So obviously that would be absolutely incredible. I'd like to break a few more time barriers as well, go faster and just, get some more medals. That'll be fun.
So how have you dealt with this postponement of the Olympics? Because I think we all kind of knew that it was coming, but no one has ever experienced anything like this before. I mean, maybe sometimes a championships might move by a day or a couple of days or something like that, or even within a championships you might get a rain delay or something, but to move it back a whole year is
it's odd, but to be fair, I think I've dealt with it fine so far. I mean, we'll see next year overall for the full synopsis. But I think I've been pretty chilled about it, because I think it's about perspective. I mean, I'm very fortunate that what I do is sprinting and what I do is running in a straight line, and I absolutely love it. But there are definitely more important things in life. And if there's a pandemic out there, and if it's fundamentally not safe and verging on irresponsible to be holding one of the biggest entertainment sporting events that happens every 4 years, then okay, that's literally all you can do. I haven't sat down and ever had that lamenting moment, I think, because I'm not really like that. I always like to say, well, this is the here and now, this is the cards we've been dealt. There's absolutely no point going, oh, it would have been my Olympic final today, or oh, it would have been, I just want to focus on what's next. So my Olympic final is next year, and we've used this time, particularly the time during lockdown, to just kind of really improve on the things that you don't normally get the luxury of time to do. Because, well, you'll know, when you're in elite sport, you're always just chasing onto the next, and you never get a time to step back and reflect, and you never get a time to you don't get a lot of time to step back and build or step back and improve. It's always just making sure that you can cope with the training, making sure that you can keep pushing. But I had the opportunity to review everything from psychology to nutrition to how I do things on the business side, and all my training methods as well. So we've actually used this period to just, come out stronger and push into the next phase, which is not just the Olympics, but the Olympics, the World Championships, another World Championships, Commonwealth Games, 2 European Championships, and another Olympics, all in like 3 years. So before 2024, we've taken the time to really step back, take stock, and make sure that we're strong enough to cope with the next phase.
It's really interesting that you're not just thinking about Tokyo, you're thinking about the whole next segment as well. And, you know, as an athlete, you don't get this kind of time. You maybe get a couple of months in the winter, and then you're straight into having to qualify and do everything again. So it's really interesting that you talk about that. So it's also interesting when you say we, you didn't say I.
No, it's not me. I'm not the smart one on my team.
Explain the we.
No. I just do what I'm told. No, it is definitely a we. It's a team effort. Obviously, I've been with John, my coach, since I was 8 years old. And weirdly, yeah, John and I and our group, we've been training in this period, just working on stuff that we never get the time to work on. It's been so much fun. Well, fun for him, painful for me. But obviously, I've got 2 S&C coaches as well, 2 physiotherapists, and just management and everybody. So it is a huge team effort. Every time I step on the line, every time I present myself, I'm a culmination of all their work and all their hard work and dedication. And for John, since I was 8 years old. So it's definitely a we, 100%.
That's really lovely that you're kind of still together as a sort of a coaching group as well. That's really, it's quite unusual as well, isn't it? In a lot of sports.
Yeah, I think it is quite unusual. It's not unheard of, but it is quite unusual. But I think I was honestly just super lucky, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm not here out. I am very, very loyal to John, don't get me wrong, but he also has an amazing skill level. He's so intelligent and he knows exactly what he's doing. I'm so lucky that like I lived in an area where I went to my local athletics club and I got John as a coach. Like, I'm so lucky, because had I been somewhere else, I might have had to move around. I might have had to go and find the best coach for me. But I was just very, very lucky for my first coach to be John, and I'm very happy. So yeah.
I mean, if you look back to sort of your younger years, why athletics? Why not? I don't know. It could be a million different sports. What was the point that you thought, this is what I want to do?
Well, it's actually quite an interesting story. There was a point in my life where I used to just be everywhere. Like, I was a very hyperactive only child. So my mum and dad would just try and take me to loads of different sporting clubs to get rid of my energy. I used to do track on a Monday, like swimming on a Tuesday, and trumpet during the week. Wednesday was track again. Thursday I did, I think, school sports, and then like brownies. Friday I did Thursday was dance, Friday was brownies, Saturday I think I had nothing, and then Sunday I did synchronized diving. So I used to do so many sports, and gradually I dropped off one. Me and my friend Sophie, that used to do synchro diving together, we got to the point where we had to do a handstand and then like push off, and we both looked at each other and was like, you know what, this is a bit dangerous now, we're all right. So we dropped out of that one. And for me, I kept with track and field, and I really liked the friends that I had in it at first. I was very fortunate, I was quite sporty, so I was always good at running, but I was more chatty and into my friends, so I was just always going back. And then when I was in secondary school, I broke my foot playing hockey. I was being very, very lazy. And we used to have practice at, probably was like 8 a.m, but what seemed like 6 a.m. in my head. And I saw a ball coming towards me and I just couldn't be bothered to hit it, quite frankly. So I saw my friend Sophie behind me. So I jumped and I was planning to let the ball go to Sophie, but I accidentally landed on it and broke my foot. And it was when I was out and I couldn't do anything, I realized that I missed the adrenaline rush of track and field. Like, I don't care what anybody says, I tried a lot of sports, and absolutely nothing compares to the adrenaline rush of standing on the line and being completely exposed, like just completely honest with yourself and just having to run as fast as you can. Like, nothing compares to that fun, that spark, all that pressure. So when I couldn't do anything, it was track and field that I went back to, and the fact that I was definitely with John by then, and John was like, stop doing all these sports, you're gonna hurt yourself, as you did. So I was like, sorry John, I've chosen track, we're good, I'm gonna stay. So also John being like, why are you doing all these things, just look after yourself. And but yeah, I loved it. A combination of, I got a warning to be careful, and also I absolutely loved sprinting. I love track.
Yeah. And do you still get that sort of buzz from sort of being you know, on the track. I was watching a rerun of the Olympics because, you know, they're putting lots of old sport on the TV. And I've been retired 13 years now. And they were showing the men's 100 metres final. It was all very dramatically cut together. And that bit when the whistle goes, and it just took me straight back to when I was competing. That kind of feeling of like, you know, you've got like 35 seconds before the gun, you know, before they call you, and the gun goes. Does that?
No, I absolutely love it. I love it. I think I'm I love adrenaline. Like, I'm one of those people that I love roller coasters. You know, when you go up to a roller coaster, you're on the edge and you're dangling. I know, that's me. I mean, obviously I feel sick, but I absolutely love it. I love that kind of knife edge moment. So for me, 100%, I get it every single time. And I wouldn't even call it, it's not even nerves anymore. It's just adrenaline. And John's taught me how to control my adrenaline, because it used to be overwhelming. But yeah, I love it. I just love the idea that, yeah, you stand on the line and it's all now. Like, you could have done the best prep in the world, you could be so ready, but if you don't get it right, it doesn't matter. And similarly, you might have had the most awful year, but if you just nail it, you might be able to make it work. So it's just about the moment. And yeah, I love it. Adrenaline rush. Yeah.
Kind of makes me feel kind of really excited about it all.
Oh, I want to race. I'm like, oh. Yeah.
When you were growing up, who were your female role models? Was it in athletics? Was it in other sports?
Good question. I think the one that I remember the most was Kelly Holmes. She was the one that made me want to go and be a professional sportswoman, because I remember watching Athens 2004 and I remember seeing her win both the 8 and the 15, and I had no interest in middle distance, so those events did not appeal to me.
But how old were you then?
I would have been 8. I would have been 8 years old, and I remember watching it, and I remember when she won, my mum was crying, my dad was emotional, they were like screaming, and I was looking around at them thinking, you don't know this girl, you know, like, you've never met this woman, like, you don't know who she is. But the fact that she was able, and just by being able to go and fulfill her potential and work really hard at something she's obviously very talented at, she can make so many people feel so proud and happy. I thought that's a really just, it's a bit soppy, but it's a beautiful thing. I don't think many professions have the opportunity to genuinely touch people like you do in sport. So, and then I saw it and just saw her on top of the podium, and it was just so cool. Like, she was just the best in the world. And I was like, yep, I'd love to do something like that. So I always wanted to go to the Olympics. I didn't really care what I went in. But I narrowed it down, obviously track and field. But from that moment, I was thinking, yeah, I could try whitewater rafting. That looks fun. Gymnastics, nope, I'm too clumsy for that. But yeah, cycling looks a bit difficult. But I was thinking, how do I get there? So
did you ever try anything longer than the 200? Have you ever run a 4?
I have run a 4. I started in cross country, but thankfully I came down from that. Yeah, thank God, because that, I mean, obviously, each their own. Mo and Laura, fantastic athletes, but for me, it's too long. The taste of blood in my mouth. I thought I was going to die. Like, I was like, no, this is not something that a sprinter is used to. But I started in cross country and made my way down. So I did 300. I was pretty good at 300, and I probably could do a decent 4. But I just love the adrenaline rush of the sprint. I like the moment and the pressure and the kind of the weight and the pause and the drama of a sprint. So I like that.
You ever tempted, maybe, I don't know, next year to run a 400? No. Sorry, it's very athletics geeky.
No. I think, I don't know, it's just very painful. Quite frankly, I have to be a very good forerunner to be able to be very good at ranked highly in the world at the 2, because obviously some of those girls can run 50.48 seconds. So we have to be able to put together a good 4 to be in there. But no.
I think Colin Jackson said the same once. So we grew up together in Cardiff, and it's like, have you ever thought running a 2 or a 4? And he's like, no,
it's too far.
It's what you're good at.
Do the short one, do it well, and stay there. Yeah, less painful.
How important were your sort of your family and in sort of all this, in terms of supporting you and helping you?
So important, so important. Like, I
love your mum and dad. I think they're brilliant.
Thank you. We've got a very tight knit family. Like, we're very close. I went out for lunch yesterday. I saw them at the weekend. Like, we're very, very close. And for me, I just always had that idea of, as long as you're happy, we're cool. So even I know I could turn around and quit tomorrow and never want to do track again, never want to do any media stuff. And they might be a bit surprised, but they'd be totally cool with it. And they just be like, okay, what's next? Like, and for me, I was just very lucky that if they could, they tried their hardest that I could try what I wanted and just have the time to fulfill my potential. But that went outside sport as well, because I remember I wanted to play the tuba after I saw it in like a cartoon. I know, so I was too small, so I got a cut down euphonium, and my parents were like, they used to have to listen to me practice this brass instrument, and they were like, oh my god. Then I went to the trumpet, and they were like, okay, you can practice 2 nights a week because we need quiet. But they were always just very supportive and just always consistently there as well.
That's amazing. I know we were meant to kind of open it up to sort of questions at the end of mine, but we've got some really interesting questions coming in now. And it kind of links on from what you're saying. So Michael Stafford Jones said, how difficult is it to get used to all the attention you get as a sports star in Britain?
Hi, by the way, firstly, hi, thanks for the good question. That's a very good question. It's personally been quite difficult for me because I'm naturally really shy, which sounds really crazy, me saying it, but I'm like, naturally, I'm painfully shy. Like, I'm one of those people that's very happy to sit at the back of the room. And it took me till I was about 16, 15 to even feel comfortable airing my views. And so to go from that, and particularly at 15, 16, and then go to a senior team at 17, and then so that's BBC, then 18, 19, and then gradually everything is just turned on year and year. It's been quite difficult because I know that being shy just doesn't wash in professional sport. Like it just doesn't wash. Like they just don't accept it. And if you're shy, they'll be like, oh, is she trying to hide something? Is she weird? Is she this? So you just have to you don't have a choice, but you just have to come out of your shell and show yourself. So for me, that's been quite difficult, that initial step, and then just about getting there. And then suddenly you're on billboards, you're on adverts, you're the face of events. And I used to very much kind of try and hide from that. And I used to reject loads of billboard offers, reject deals that included me being the face of something because I wanted it to be in control. But I've just become a bit more comfortable because quite frankly, it comes with the territory. I just kind of sat myself down and I said, well, I know what I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, not finished with what I want to achieve. But unfortunately, with that is going to come the stuff that you don't like. And I know that I'm not going to stop trying to be the best athlete that I can be. So I've just got to get used to it. So I just gave myself a hard talking to, quite frankly. And, but it has taken a lot of getting used to, because it's definitely not something that comes naturally. Like athletes, I always say track and field or sport, professional sport, not many people that are in it want to be famous. You don't get too many of those types that have been craving the limelight since they were like 6 years old, simply because it's way too hard. It's way too hard. If you want to be famous, you don't go into professional sport, you go into something else, because there's no point vomiting and doing all these painful sessions just if you want to be famous. Like there's other ways to do it. Go on YouTube. But so not many of us want to be famous, so it's an adjustment that we all have to make. But I mean, it has been difficult. That's been the biggest challenge for me, I think, over the past, definitely since 2018 as well.
It's all part of what you have to do, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just, unfortunately, it's just life. Like, unfortunately, just got to get used to it.
You say about throwing. I used to throw up before every race I did, but that's another story. Pippa Slot has asked, on race day, what is your morning routine to get ready to step out on the track?
Oh, hi, Pippa. And to be fair, I'm pretty chill. It's not really consistent. I just try and wake up, good timing, do normal morning stuff like shower, eat well, eat whatever I need for the day. And then the only thing I guess that's in my routine is I always leave an hour before I need to leave the hotel for makeup and hair. And I know it sounds so silly, but even if you're nervous, just the idea of having to be still and precise with like eyeshadow, eyeliner, for me, I find it really grounding and centering, which is very strange. So even if you're nervous and you might be jittering around, the fact that I've got a whole hour where I just have to sit down and just look at myself and be like, okay, go through the process, get ready and physically get made up. I find it really calming and centering. And that's probably what gets me in the right mindset to just focus and get it done, irrespective of how I'm feeling.
Don't you ever kind of worry that you're going to like wipe your nose or do...
Me? No, I've got fixing spray for that.
Okay.
No, got a fixing spray, and I put on enough makeup that when I've sweated, it's still present. So I probably start the day with loads of makeup. I'll sweat it off during the warm up, and then by the time I step out on track, it looks like a natural dewy look when really it's just half off. But yeah.
I remember an incident I had. I'm not sure I've ever told anyone about this. It was back in '93, Stuttgart World Championships. I won a bronze medal, and they started dragging at the end of the race. They started dragging me down this corridor, and it said anti-doping.
Yeah.
And I start shouting, "I'm not going without my coach. I'm not going. I need someone with me." And they're trying to pull me, and I'm holding onto the door because they're trying to push me down the anti-doping corridor. Anyway, it turns out they were taking me to the makeup room to have my makeup put on.
Oh, bless you.
They thought I was such a diva.
Oh, so you're like, no, I don't want it. And they're like, we're just going to go and put some makeup on you. It's fine.
Just making it look so red and sweaty.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. They don't do that for us. They do not do that for us.
No, it's the only time I think it wasn't
fun. And because you kicked off, you probably ruined. I'm joking. No.
Oh, they put really bad makeup on me. It was just.
Oh, you weren't happy.
Oh no. So from Charlotte Roberts, what are the key benefits for you for being physically active, and what would you say to encourage people to get involved if they don't yet have a passion or interest for sport or exercise participation?
Well, I mean, obviously being fit and active is part of my job in performing. So firstly, it enables me to achieve my dreams, which is, part of it. But on just a more human level, I just feel better within myself and within my body. I don't think I'm very good at putting it into words, but when I'm not in the shape that I'm used to, I kind of feel a bit disconnected with myself. Like when I'm in shape, I feel more together. When I'm eating healthily, I just feel clearer. I feel like I've got more energy. I feel happier. And that's basically what being fit and active is to me. I think it's a certain quality of life within yourself, but you only know what that is if you've been there, and then it drops off, and then you're like, I liked being up here. I liked that. So I got to get there again. And what I'd say to people who probably are just starting out in sport is honestly have fun with it. Just enjoy it and find something that you love, because there is a sport for everyone. If you like running, yay, one of us. You can go and run. If you prefer team sports, there's football, there's netball, there's rugby, there's hockey. If you like things that are a bit more static, a bit more indoors, then you've got yoga, you've got Pilates, which is so hard. And there's dancing. There's a sport for absolutely everybody. But just go and make sure you're having fun, because there's no point pushing yourself through something if you're fundamentally not enjoying it. And I don't mean just finding it a bit tough, because things are a bit tough when you first start, so you might have to push through it a bit. But if you're fundamentally not enjoying it, then switch sports. But make sure you find something that you enjoy and stick with it, and be patient, and soon you'll be really good at it.
Julian Smith wanted to pick up on the things you were saying about your shyness. And you talked a little bit about performance, but did you ever get performance nerves early on? Did it kind of stop you performing, the fact that you were shy? Because part of athletics, you have to have some kind of level of ego, isn't it, to make yourself go out and do it?
Definitely. I think that I definitely had performance shyness, but I don't know if it stopped me from performing. I definitely had nerves. I definitely had times when I used to go through bits of the core room and I was like, oh, I can't go back now. Like I used to be like, oh, that was the last time that I could like back out. I never did back out. But and I used to be scared the gun too. I used to think I was going to get shot. Like that's a normal thing when you're younger and you start out in sport. You're like, I don't want to be in lane one. What if the starter shoots me? Like it's not a real thing. So it's not a real like gun. So it's okay. It's all electronic. But as like a 10-year-old, you don't know that. And I think it's never really stopped me from performing. But you're right. Definitely in track and field, you have to have this level of self-confidence. And I think for me, John has, because John's known me since I was like 8, and he knows how shy I was, and he knows how overwhelmed I can get in the moment. He always gives me little things to focus on. So when I go into a race, I've always had, don't worry about it, just try and run a little bit faster than you did last time. Or when you come up the bend, just try and do this. So he would always say, just relax, it's okay, focus on what I've told you. And I would always just remember to do what he said, and that would kind of take away from the magnitude in the moment. Because if you kind of step onto the race and you're like, okay, now it'll be like, oh, it's an Olympic final, I'm so scared, the eyes of the world are on me, especially me, I'm likely to get nervous. But if I listen to John and I just focus, okay, nail my first 3 steps and make sure when I transition it's like this, and the more boring technical things, it kind of takes away from that anxiety, because it's something that you definitely know you can do, you've definitely done before, and it's an area that you're comfortable with. So I think it's all about, it is an ego, you have to be confident, but it's also being confident that you can execute what you need to do. And that's kind of how I got over it, just not focusing on the moment. Well, it's still what I do now. If I focus on the moment, I'll be like, oh my god, there's so many people, the stadium's so big. But yeah, just focus on the small things and piece them together, and then the gun will go, you'll do it, you're at the line, and then you're like, oh, what happened? Oh great, it was good, cool. Yeah.
What's the biggest crowd you've been in front of?
Oh, I don't know. I don't look at any capacities of stadiums. I have absolutely no clue. Probably, I don't know. I've raced in Beijing Stadium, which is really big. I've raced in the London Stadium, which is quite big. I've raced, obviously, Olympic Stadium. I've raced quite a few big venues, but I don't know. Probably, I think Beijing or London, probably, because their Olympic stadiums would have been the biggest.
Yeah.
But I remember being terrified in Beijing, but it was big. It was big like this as well, so it felt like everybody was over you. But got over it.
I was in the stadium in Sydney the night Kathy Freeman won her gold medal.
Oh wow!
And, oh god, you wouldn't have even remember that.
No, but I know that's iconic.
Yeah, that makes me feel brilliant. And that was unbelievable. Just like you could almost feel the pressure on her, because she was competing in front of a home crowd,
everything. Like, that is one of the ones, if you pull that off, she probably went into her bed like that night and was just like, thank god that's done, like thank god. And not only thank god I did it, and then you're just like, right, okay, chill.
Max Stafford Davis wants to know, how do you balance kind of friends and training and all those different things? I mean, I guess especially when you're younger, now that people know that you're an athlete, they're probably a bit more understanding.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been very lucky. Like, I've had the same core group of friends since I was about, well, one of my best friends, Sophie, I've known since I was 4. And then the rest of my friends, we've been friends since year 7. So they've been with me every step of the journey. And like, it's been quite hilarious, because they've been joking, oh, when you make it to the Olympics, Dina, we're going to come. And like, they actually obviously got refunded for their Tokyo tickets, because they were like, oh, sugar, you actually made it. Now we have to do it. So I'm very fortunate that I've always had really understanding friends. They've been to watch me in London. They've been to watch me race around. So that makes it a lot easier. I see them as much as I possibly can, but they're also very successful, very busy working women as well. So we've all got loads of stuff going on. So we sometimes miss each other, but we talk every day. WhatsApp is a savior as well. WhatsApp, Instagram, all these messaging things, they're fantastic, because you can keep up with people that you can't see in person. But in terms of balancing things, I think for me, it's always prioritizing performance. So, and myself coming first. So I make sure that I'm happy, but that feeds into performance as well, because personally, to perform, I have to be relaxed and happy. So everything in my life that makes me happy and relaxed has to happen. It has to. So whether that's seeing my friends, whether that's chilling with my parents, whether that's going for a nice meal now and again, I've got to be happy to perform. So as long as that happens, it's good. But then after that, everything is just performance led, quite frankly. So I do miss quite a few things, but when I retire, or when things calm down a bit, I think I'll have a bit more time.
Take it from someone who's been retired a long time, you have no excuse ever to miss any family party. So when I retired, that's the first thing my sister said, because you'd be like, I'm training, I can't do it. And she's like, it's done.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, sugar, I used up all my excuses.
Yeah, they're all gone. You talked a bit about having your makeup done and that sort of side, but Catherine Edmond wanted to know, do you have any other sort of rituals that you perform, either consciously or subconsciously, whether it's wearing a certain pair of socks or walking backwards on a course, cross country, obviously, but is there anything that you kind of have to have around you in that moment?
No, absolutely nothing. I like to keep it kind of chilled and in flux. I like to get I like to get my luck and my confidence and my self-esteem from the work that I'm doing and how I've done it. And I don't really like to rely on lucky charms, because the moment it's not there, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't perform. Or even if you do something slightly out of step or something weird, there's just something in the nagging in the back of your mind that it's not right. And I don't like that. I don't like that I would put or hinge such an important moment on something that's quite, doesn't really matter. So I don't really get any comfort from doing those things. I try and keep everything as free flowing and as well, yeah, free flowing and in the moment as possible. And quite frankly, you don't always get the opportunity to go and have a walk around the stadium before the event. You might not even be in the city that you're competing in when the Olympics start. Like, often we're at holding camp, so if you wanted to walk around the stadium, sorry, the Olympics already started. Like, you can't just go for a walk while the 400 meters are trying to have their round. Like, you don't always have the luxury of being able to fulfill your little comfort rituals. So I try and just not have any, just roll with it. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong with that.
Exactly.
You lose whatever it is, you lose your socks or anything like that.
If you can't do it, I would kick myself. When I do stuff, I always try and say, when I'm 50, when I'm 60, if I look back, I don't want to regret anything. And I feel like if I was like 60 and I look back, oh, I didn't win that race because I didn't have my socks on, I would literally want to slap myself. Do you know what I mean? No, but it's true. When you say it like that, oh, I got really nervous, I wasn't focused, I didn't have the right pair of socks on, I'd be like, Dina, what were you doing? Like, you know. To be fair, I don't even wear socks in my race spikes anymore, so but yeah, it's crazy.
Phil Horton says, you've got plenty of years ahead of you on the track. Do you have any plans or your passion for post athletics?
Oh, that's a very good question. I keep getting asked this question recently. No, I've got absolutely no idea what I want to do post track and field, but I'm just trying to keep all my options open. When I was younger and coming through the junior ranks and stepping into early seniors, the one thing that every single athlete that's older and comes to speak to you tells you is have a plan, or when you retire, or have a degree, or have some way out, or have a passion that you want to do. Because if you just stop, it's like, and you've got nothing, it's like going back to the beginning again. So I really listened to that, and I've tried to just kind of keep as many doors open as possible, because I don't know what I want to do when I retire. I think it entirely depends on what makes me happy, where my career ends, what I do. And but no, haven't got any idea, but I'm trying to leave every door open.
That's really sensible. Yeah. Lots of choices. That's sort of,
yeah.
I haven't got the name of who's asking this question, but it's will we see you race anytime soon? When do you think you?
I don't know. I think, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's mainly because everything is so in flux. Like, I've been training all the way through, so I'm okay. Like, I'm healthy and I'm building. So I'm very much in a building phase. For me personally, I would prefer to remain in that building phase for the rest of 2020, just because I think in the long term, if you're taking your emotions out at the moment and just the whole, oh, I want to compete during coronavirus to show it didn't beat me, if you remove yourself from that situation, the best thing to do actually is prepare for the long-term haul, because we're going to have a very intense 4 years. So it's better to build your way into that and get a good foundation. But so that's what I would preferably do. But John might change his mind. He might have different ideas, but again, that also comes down to how safe the races are. I have to say, I'm not in the mood for racing's sake this year. I think the stakes are a bit too high. I don't fancy catching coronavirus potentially at an event, obviously being a runner, and it's a respiratory disease the year before the Olympics. Don't fancy running any risk. And just thinking in the long term, we've been trying to put together what the best thing is. So I don't know if I'm going to race at the end of this season, but again, everything's in flux. I might say that this week, and then next week you see me on track. So I mean, I'm not promising that, but but yeah,
we've just got to be sensible in the decision making.
Yeah, it's just making smart decisions right now at the moment, quite frankly, because being mindful that the next 4 years are going to be intense. Your body does need to be resilient, and also minimizing risk.
we've had a few questions on Black Lives Matter. I'm going to sort of wrap a few of them up together. So Victor Davis has said, what can we do to encourage BAME community to get more involved in sports? But Will's also asked about what's the role of athletes and those with high profiles to speak about societal issues such as Black Lives Matter? Should clubs, associations and event organisers take more responsibility on these issues rather than leaving it to the high profile sports stars to speak out?
Okay, so let me go for the last two and then I'll go for the first one last. Okay, so the last two are talking about basically where does social responsibility lie, essentially. And I think that's something really interesting that I've been thinking about as well. So because I'm coming from a shy person, I'm very much like, oh, people can definitely have thoughts behind closed doors, and the onus shouldn't always be on the individual. So that's where I originally thought it shouldn't always be on the individual to speak out, simply because you never know what people are dealing with. Like, they might have the opinions, but you can't get angry at somebody for not speaking out because they might be going through anxiety, they might be depressed, and whilst they might have a really big platform, personally for them, putting themselves in a debate might not be the right move for them. So that's why I always caution with the shaming of people that don't say anything or don't use their profile, because you never know what somebody's fighting behind closed doors, and you never know the private action that they're taking. So firstly, I fundamentally disagree with shaming, so no. But as on who the responsibility lies, I think that's a very interesting question. I think it very much depends on the time that we're in. I think that you have to stand up for what's right, I think. And I think previously, when lots of discourse in the public sphere was a bit different, people felt a bit more relaxed, and they felt like they didn't have to speak up because things weren't where they are now, if that makes sense. So I think it very much depends on the time. I don't think we should leave it to public figures. I do sometimes think, whilst it's fantastic that individuals are raising, and I think it's amazing, and I very much credit and have donated myself, I think it's amazing that people are raising so much money for these causes, but you also have to question, why is it up to high profile individuals to be doing the work of higher bodies? But that doesn't negate the fact that if you've got a platform and you do have, and you, especially as a role model, and you've got people looking up to you, you do have a responsibility to speak up. But I think it depends on the times that we're in, and for the times right now, I think it's entirely appropriate, because sadly we're at a point where a footballer has to raise money to get children school meals. Like, that's where we're at, quite frankly. That's what it is, and it's fantastic that it's done, and it deserves all the applause, but it doesn't take away from the crux of the issue. And whilst that is an issue, people with high profiles, you do have to do that job, and whether you agree with it, whether you think it's right or not, sometimes you have to step in. It's a luxury to be able to disengage from pressing issues, but it's the times we're in. If other people have to step in and help, because not everything is working the way that it should do for the most vulnerable or the BAME community, or specifically the Black community, then it has to be said. So yes. And what was the first question? Sorry.
It was about how you get more sort of open access to sport and physical activity from Black and Asian minority ethnic children, because I guess athletics is quite equitable in terms of.
Yeah, I have to not talk about athletics in this question, because athletics is a very it's a very popular sport with the Black community, entirely popular. But I think that's a very complex issue, and I think it cuts across class. I think it cuts across gender. I think it cuts across where you live, city, in the country. So lots of the sports in these countries, in this country, lots and lots of them. So rugby, cricket, horse riding, it tends to be more of a class thing. So where you tend to get the typical breakdown of race tends to more fall into class boundaries. And you always find, if there's like initiatives or there's schemes to link up people from different backgrounds to different sports where they might not get exposed to it at school, or they might not play it with their friends on the playground, then yeah, they'll take it up. So I think it is about access and opportunity primarily, but also this is what I've been working on in my privately as well. It's also about visibility, and it's also about seeing what you can be. And you always think, why is track and field such a popular sport with the Black communities? Because Black people see other Black people doing well. It tells you that you can do well. Does it mean that Black people only play that sport? Of course not. But you have to see it to believe it. Not everybody is built to be a pioneer. So you have to see it to believe it. If a black girl sees Simone Biles, she sees Gabby Douglas, she believes that she can do it. But if she's been watching gymnastics and nobody looked like her, she might respect it. She might think it's fantastic. She might be brilliant at doing backflips in her garden, but she might feel uncomfortable going to her local sports club, because that's still a big move for a child. And I think that does have a lot to do with how we market sports, particularly with women as well, and how we engage people that live in inner city communities as well. But it is a lot to do with visibility. And when you have visible role models and you have visible role models and then clear pathways into that sport, then you'll get a more diverse uptake. But it's a big issue. It goes across, it could hit on everything. It could be like, why aren't people from this community going and, I don't know, being art historians? Like, you know, it's more than just sport. It's so many things.
I mean, I think a lot of the time, you know, Nelson Mandela said sport has the power to change the world. Mm-hmm. And there's so much that I agree. You know, sport can, physical activity can do so much, but it's also about the structures and the culture around you.
Yeah, I mean,
if it was easy to fix, we'd have fixed it by now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
On boards, people on boards, disabled people on board. Like,
exactly. It's exactly that. If it was easy to fix, or if it was just a sport thing, it would have been fixed like that, because we want to see everybody doing it as well. And if it was just a sport thing, the move would have been made. But it's so wide. It's something that affects so many aspects of society. It's also ways you've got certain people in certain jobs and certain entertainment industries. It's a bigger issue.
David Hurst has asked, you know, now we're all getting back to the gym, and you know, if there's an obesity strategy that's been launched, should sort of nutrition and attending gyms be a priority for us? Because we all know physical activity is really good for us, but is there sort of more that we could do?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm actually really, I mean, tend to stay out of politics, but I was so happy to hear that there was a big kind of health drive. I was like, yeah, thank goodness, because it makes comment like, yeah, like we have a duty as a country, as a community, if we're thinking about it in whatever context, duty to ourselves and our own self-care, and duty to the NHS to be as healthy as possible. And healthy doesn't mean thin. Healthy means healthy. You can be thin and very unhealthy. You can be bigger and very healthy. It's not an objective size thing. It's about the quality of your organs, the quality of how your body works. So it's about being healthy, and we have a duty to do that to ourselves primarily. We don't need to be cutting our lives short for no reason, just because we want a chocolate cake every now and again, like, you know, or just because we can't bother to go for a run. We should be trying to be the best and healthiest individuals ever. So yeah, I definitely think we should be eating better, and that doesn't necessarily mean more, doesn't necessarily mean less, but sometimes it means better quality things. And also, going to the gyms, going out for a run, even if it's playing with your kids in the field, playing football, playing rugby, playing cricket, playing whatever you want to do, just getting active, or going for a power walk with your friends, like, honestly, anything, just get moving. But again, I think it is something we should be focusing on, but it is something that we also need help with as well, because it's all well and good telling people, oh, go and be active. But if you live in the middle of a city and jogging around is really dangerous with loads of cars, you might have to make different ways. Or if you can't do that, but you also can't afford a gym fee, but then you also don't want to go into a park and touch the gym stuff because of coronavirus. We have to really think about ways to help people, because it's always all well and good saying these things, but when you kind of take a step back and examine how people would do it in their day-to-day, you need to make it easier for people as well. Because it's all well and good saying eat healthy, but if KFC is $1.99 and the salad's £4 and you've got to feed a family of 5, then suddenly it's a bit like, well, do I want my kids to be screaming at me going off the walls because they've eaten like 2 leaves each, you know? So yes, I think it is really important, but I think we need to examine our entire culture about health and fitness, because we need more help than just us as well.
Do you know what's amazing? I know you said you stay away from politics, but I would love you to go into number 10.
No, that's way too much stress. I'm sorry. No, you say the wrong word on Twitter. No, I live a peaceful, happy life. Peaceful life.
I mean, it's just amazing what you say, because there's just not one easy solution to this. So obviously we're UK Active, and our responsibilities to the gym and leisure sector. What kind of importance has sort of the role of gyms and the leisure sector played in your rise to the top? I know for me, being in the gym, I loved it. And okay, this is what you've got to look forward to in retirement: is you start with the weight stack where you used to have it.
Oh God!
Yeah, and then you go right.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, 1 kg.
Yeah. So now it's easier for me to start at the bottom. So that is your retirement. That's such a vanity thing, but how important is that to kind of your training and everything you do?
Sure. I finished gym at 12 today, so I came, got changed, had a shower, did this. So I gym 3 times a week. I've got, one of my sponsors is Pure Gym. It's a huge part of what I do. Like, I'm a sprinter. Power and efficiency is the name of the game. So my gym work is essential on being strong and being stable, efficient. Oh, strong and stable. I do sound like a politician. Strong and efficient and all these things. So it's essential. I am on track more than I am in gym, but not too much more. Yeah, it's a lot of gym in my program.
Nadeem has said that actually member of Shaftesbury Barnet Harriers. God, that's a real classic name in athletics, isn't it? Once you've completed your race, how long afterwards do you evaluate with your coach, and which areas do you review?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. It depends on the race, because sometimes if it's like a big championship, sometimes you finish the race, there's a lot of milling around, somebody might have torn their hamstring, so you've got to go and make sure your friend's okay. You didn't see the race on the board, then you've got 90 minutes of media, and like, you haven't seen it, you haven't spoken to your coach, BBC are in your face like, what do you think? And you're like, I haven't even seen the race back, I don't really know. So you have to, normally it's definitely going to be on the day. But I think it's interesting what you mean by review, because if you're in the middle of a championship, tends to be what will be, and my coach is very careful and deliberate with what he says. So we'll never have a sit down, tear down the race in the middle of a championship, because what's the point? Then you start getting anxieties over, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to remember this. What's the point? It's too much information. Like, John typically looks at it, he might have loads of thoughts, but then he'll convert it into one really simple thought or really simple sentence for me. But when we have the time, say it's a one-off Diamond League, then we'll sit back and we'll take it down, break it down, and particularly it will go into the next few weeks of training as well. So we might have us talk about, oh, was it good, was it bad, how did you feel? Then that's that. Then you come into training and he's like, oh, I noticed in your race I didn't like this, so today we're going to do this and focus on this. And the next week it might be like, oh yeah, I saw in that race you did last week I didn't like this, so today when you're doing this run, concentrate on it. So it's a consistent process that often takes longer than just a moment. It's a constant thing. But if you're in a moment of high stress, high pressure, and it's like the moment, so Olympics or a world champs, there won't be too much a review. It's just your coach will do all that work, but then they should give you one simple thought, because you've got enough on your plate. You don't need to have a billion thoughts swinging around your head about what you can do, because you're not going to do it. You're just going to get overloaded and mess it all up. So you just need one simple thing. So yeah.
And that's the balance of the coach, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people from the outside think a coach just writes a program and tells you, and the relationship can be quite different, but they don't need to tell you every single thing all the time, do they? Part of it is, so my husband was my coach for quite a long time, and actually where he was good, he understood how I worked and coached me in a way that worked for me. Yeah. And adapted his coaching style. Although actually, to be fair, on one race, 800 in Athens, I screwed up. He wasn't.
It happens, doesn't it?
He said, "What the hell was that?" Literally, yeah. But actually, a good coach will know and understand all those different things, and when's the right time to tell you. Yeah. It doesn't have to be now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I honestly, my favorite thing, my favorite memory of being with John is Berlin 2018. I remember I did the semi-final and I was in great shape. I was in PB shape, but my start was horrendous. I literally sat there like I was a slug, I was a tortoise, whatever slow animal I was so stressed because I'm a good starter. Okay, it wasn't a bad start, but from where I class myself in my standards, it was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And I was stressed. I was really frustrated because I knew that the final was going to be tough, like if there's good competition, and I knew that I had to nail my start. And the whole season, my starts had been here and there inconsistent. So I came back and I was so stressed. I was so concerned. And I had the final later that night. So I literally went from the semi to prepare for the final. And I was like, John, like, oh my God. Can we practice blocks before we go out? Like, what do you want me to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I was panicked. And he was like, no. He was like, no, it's done. All I want you to do is go out there and do your normal start. And we're not doing any blocks. We're not doing any starts. You're not even doing 3-point starts without it. You're just doing 2 runs and then you're going into the call room. I was like, what? Like, what? And I'm so grateful that he did that, because he was like, I don't need to think about it. He was like, as far as I'm concerned, just go out there, do what you normally do, and you'll be fine. And he said that, and I did it, and I had the best start of my career. But that's because he literally knew how I worked, because if he had been worried, then I would have worried. And if I had practiced it more, I would have stressed, and it would have got worse and worse. It wouldn't have got worse, but I would have just been really stressed and really caught up about it. And he just wanted me to chill. But you're right, it's about him understanding you, because some of my other training partners, it might have served well for them to just get slowly guided through it a little bit and just to do one. But for me, he was like, nah, she can do it, she just needs to chill out. So he told me not to go and do a good start, not to go and do a better start, just to go do a normal start, call it a day, don't think about it. Then he was like, what color is your eyeshadow going to be, blah blah blah, like just change the subject. I was like, okay, so we're just ignoring that. Okay, cool, fine, okay. So yeah, you just ignored it.
Ellen has said, when you retire, could you please release your own fixing spray for us all to use? Right, you don't need to wait till retire for that. We could all do that.
We could all do that. Thank you. I'll think about it.
A comment from someone else that says, I know you don't want to get involved in politics, but after winning 3 golds next year in Tokyo, can you please become our next Prime Minister? The country would be a much better place with you.
I don't know. I'm not sure it would. No. Thank you very much. Fingers crossed, touch wood. Got a lot of hard work to do before any of that next year could become a reality. So thank you, touch wood. Still got a lot of hard work to do. But no. We need politicians who are politicians. I am not a politician. No.
No, you see, I think of myself as a parliamentarian, not a politician, which makes me a politician. But we'll have a chat. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll have a chat about that.
I'm like, no.
Pippa says, do you find the relay more nervous than an individual event, as you've got your teammates counting on you? Which is your favourite leg of the relay and why?
Definitely, yes. I find the relay more nerve-wracking than the individual. Yes. Yeah, mainly it's different because you do carry 3 other people's hopes, dreams and aspirations. Because for me, the relay's great and I love the relay, but sometimes for one of the relay girls, it might be she's been injured for how many years and this is her first time back on the team. She wants to do really well. The other one might be super nervous because she's brand new and hasn't done that leg before. Then the other one might have been like, it might be one of her last hurrahs, like she's looking to retire, and you know this, so you know that you're not just carrying your own hopes, dreams and expectations, but it's also 3 other people. Yes, and you're like, please don't mess it up, because if you mess it up for you, like, you're nervous, it's your name, so you're the one that will get dragged through the mud, which is nerve-wracking in itself. But when you're doing it for 3 other people, it's far more emotional. So I do find it a bit more, I find it a different kind of pressure. I do find it more nerve-wracking, and it's just more like, and especially where I know I've got my individual, especially if my individual's gone well, I'm like, well, I really can't mess it up, because for me, it might not affect my life too much, but it's going to affect theirs. And I don't want to be that girl, that did really well and then messed up for no. So I do get a little bit more nerve-wracking, but I find it a bit more nerve-wracking, but it's loads of fun. It's definitely so much fun, and it's fun being in the call room together, and it's fun just being a collective. It's lots of fun.
I hated relays for exactly the same reason.
Oh, it is different. It's very different. It's
hard to explain it.
Yeah. Oh, and I forgot my favorite leg. I don't know. My least favorite leg has to be the 3rd leg, because I love running the bend, but this is a bit of a technical point, but the change is the change from 2 to 3 is mathematically different. So long story short, you have to start I have to personally start the opposite side of the track with the opposite leg looking upside down, and then than what I would normally do. And I have to really quickly drive from one side of the track to the other. And if I'm not quick enough, you'll collide with the runner before you even got the baton. So I find that quite mathematically difficult just because of the angles, and it's something you got to practice. So that is my least favorite change. But I like the leg. The leg's a lot of fun because the bend's fun to run. But no, I haven't really got too much favorite. I'm not too picky. Like, I'm one of those people, I'll just go wherever the team needs me to go. Don't particularly have a favorite.
I love it when every British supporter out there has a theory on changeovers. So if the British changeover doesn't go right, it's just fascinating. It's almost like, well, I could do that. And like, you have no idea how complicated
a lot. It's a lot.
It's
Yeah.
really complicated.
Yeah, it is really, really complicated. I think we obviously don't put it out there that much because it's our own tactical thing, but it is definitely one of the most, it is by far the most technical aspect of what I have to do. And I think bar, like, I'd guess the pole vault or something, it would be one of the most technically difficult events, because you have to meet at high speed. You have to, if you're incoming, it's okay if you're incoming because you just keep running, but you have to be careful not to drop any speed when you might naturally be fatiguing, otherwise you won't make the change, which is when it looks like they went too early, but really this one's just too tired and that one's getting faster, and mathematically it doesn't work. Or if you're outgoing, you start upside down. You're literally just looking to recognize your especially if you're looking at a bend, you've got to remember what spikes the incoming runner has and hope that you're looking at the right mark, because all you can see is legs. You can't see them, you just see legs, what color their legs are, and the spikes, the brand of spikes. And you're like, well, for me, normally like, that looks like Desiree, so let's go. And you've got to, everything has to be precise, everything does everything. And it's very difficult.
That just makes me feel so nervous when you talk about it, because it just takes me back, which is not good. So we're running out of time, so we haven't been able to get through every question, unfortunately. Julian has said, you've clearly got an amazing team around you and you're really well balanced, but others might not be quite so lucky. How can we, the public, or wider than that, support athletes better in these strange times?
Very good question. I think number one is being kind. Number one, because I think number one is the public is definitely being kind, because I think one of the most stressful things, particularly as athletes who, as I emphasize, we don't really go out there to be famous. We don't go out there for profile, whatever. We're kind of just normal people that are very good at something, but we're human. We make mistakes, and loads of people, I understand that everybody has to deal with criticism 100%, but I think right now, particularly with like some of I think it's been quite weird over coronavirus, but some of the social media has been a bit crazy, and being kind helps a lot, because it allows people to kind of be themselves in their personalities more as well. They feel a bit more safe. So firstly, I'd say be kind. But thank you. Yeah, I love my team. I'm very fortunate to have them around me. And that's a good question. I think, to be fair, I actually do think it's a journey that the individual athlete has to go on themselves as well. I think it's not necessarily something that the public can do so much. I think that it's about, because essentially track and field, especially sport as well, is being the best that you can be and making that work for you. And ultimately, you need to find out what works for you. You're the only one that can make that work. Maybe you and your coach, so me and John, but that's that. So any encouragement from the public or whatever, it's that bit, it won't make a difference, because it's a very personal journey, and it's just being the best version of you and seeing how far that goes. So I guess if you just let people have the freedom to explore, to get things wrong without being kind of cancelled, or like, oh, they should get their funding taken away, they're a letdown, you know what I mean? Like, I know that happens. So because like, we're always doing the best. Like, we are always going to be our harshest critic. So if you think you're disappointed, imagine how we feel. So I'd say always be kind, but definitely in terms of building a team and finding what works for you, that's a journey that the athlete definitely has to undertake themselves, and be responsible, hold themselves accountable, and make smart decisions. That's something that, unfortunately, it's like a rite of passage, and some people make it, some people don't. It's life. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us today. It's been a privilege. Thank you to everyone who's joined in and listened. And as George said at the beginning, it's recorded and we'll have other access to that. Good luck with your training. Good luck with Tokyo. Thank you so much. Thank you
very much. It's been a lovely chat. Thank you very much for having me. So thank you. Thank you.